Okay, so today we are going to be looking or considering the various offenses for which a legal practitioner can be disciplined, the offenses for which a lawyer can be disciplined. Now, there are four categories of offenses for which a legal practitioner or for which a presumed legal practitioner can be disciplined. Now, you may see where probably in a scenario, they are going to give you a fact of what the lawyer did. Now, that thing that the lawyer did is going to come under any of the following categories of offenses, because the offenses we are about to isolate are the offenses recognized under the Rules of Professional Conduct or Legal Practitioners Act as the offenses for which a lawyer can be disciplined. One is known as infamous conduct in a professional respect. For example, anytime you see in a scenario that there is a lawyer-client relationship and the lawyer fails to do what he ought to do as he promised the client, and maybe collected the client's money and he refused to remit it, or collected the client's money and refused to represent the client in a litigation, that falls under infamous conduct in a professional respect. The reason why the word professional respect comes into there is for you to know that so long as the lawyer is acting in a professional capacity, representing another or meant to represent another, then anything that he does wrong or anything that he does that is illegal in that regard falls under this category of offense. Then the second one is known as conduct, though not infamous, but incompatible with the status of a legal practitioner. Now, by virtue of the fact that you are a lawyer, there are reasonable expectations from you of the way you are meant to live your life. For example, if every day a lawyer is always getting drunk, falling inside the gutter, and they are coming to pick him up, many people will now start saying, when I say this one a lawyer, you say that this one is a lawyer who can even engage this one. So that is likely to bring the profession known as legal profession into a disrepute. So if such happens, then it falls under conduct, though not infamous, but incompatible with the status of a lawyer. Or every time a lawyer is fighting on the street, a lawyer is shouting, that falls under this category. Then the third one is obtaining enrollment by fraud. Obtaining enrollment by fraud is if you go and have your name entered in the roll of legal practitioners at the Supreme Court, but you failed Nigerian law school exam and nobody knew that you failed, and you have been practicing as a lawyer. Then when you were caught, knowing that you are not really or duly called to bar, then it falls under what is called obtaining enrollment, meaning that you got your name enrolled in the Supreme Court by fraud. Then the next category of offense is known as conviction by any court in Nigeria. Conviction by any court in Nigeria. So if probably a lawyer commits an offense and he was tried by a court and the court convicted him, the body that is charged with the responsibility of disciplining lawyers can also discipline such a lawyer for having done something that led him to be convicted in the court. But I would want you to note that it has to be a court in Nigeria. So meaning if it is a court that is overseas that convicted a particular lawyer, the body that is charged with the responsibility of disciplining lawyers cannot discipline this lawyer. Also note that if it is an inquiry tribunal, if it's a tribunal of inquiry that disciplines such a lawyer or that found such a lawyer liable, it cannot fall under this category. It has to be a court of competent jurisdiction that tried and convicted such a lawyer before the lawyer can be disciplined by the body charged with the responsibility. And I would want you to note that the main body that is charged with the responsibility to discipline lawyers is known as Legal Practitioners Disciplinary Committee. But there are other bodies that can also discipline lawyers, such as the Chief Justice of Nigeria. He can discipline a lawyer. The Supreme Court of the Federal Republic of Nigeria can also discipline a lawyer. But when the Chief Justice of Nigeria is the one disciplining, the extent of his powers is only for suspension. He cannot give other type of punishment against such a lawyer. He can only at best suspend. But note that the main body is known as Legal Practitioners Disciplinary Committee, and this committee is a committee of body of benchers. In an event in your MCQ, if you don't see LPDC and you see BOB, pick BOB. You are still correct. Thank you.